This is CNA 938, streaming live on CNA.Asia and on Me Listen, the new home for free digital audio from all of MediaCorp's radio stations. As well as listening live, you can also log on for podcasts and other interactive features.
Well, how about this? The multiverse is beckoning. Simply put, the metaverse will allow us to interact in virtual universes. And now Asia's first graduate and corporate training provider school will soon enter the metaverse. It's based here in Singapore too. We're talking about Aventis Graduate School, and they're doing this to make education more accessible across Southeast Asia.
So Aventis is partnering with Multiverse Labs to help build and provide the tech for this new world, and Smobler Studios will be designing this virtual campus. Smobler Studios is a virtual architecture and creative agency. So let's speak with its co-founder, Dr. Loretta Chen. Hey, Dr. Chen, congratulations on inking the Metaverse agreement with Aventis. Could you give us some examples, though? Because we're thinking that students can use their avatars to study and interact with others just by wearing their VR headsets in whichever country they're in.
Hey, folks, it's just so nice to be back on again. I mean, let's just talk about the evolution of where we are now, right? I'm literally zooming in, having this call with you in my bedroom. My parents are outside the kitchen listening in, right? This would have been like impossible just a couple of years ago, right? I mean, I think there's a great Lenin saying that says, there are decades when nothing happens and there are weeks when decades happen, right? And I think this is just a great sort of summation of where we are, right? The fact that we are now sort of being able to take Aventis Metaverse and make it a reality. And I think the first myth I really want to debunk is the fact that, first off, I have a pretty huge head. I don't think that all of us are going to be walking around with a really bulky headset. I think one of the first myths I really want to debunk, that I think when Mark Zuckerberg did his big announcement in October, I think he said that's the only way to enter the metaverse. And that's actually a fallacy that I really want to share with all our audience and listeners, that there's so many ways of entering the metaverse, right? The whole point about the metaverse is to make it a little bit more immersive, interoperable, and allows us to bring all of ourselves in. If you think of Web 1 being the age of information and Web 2 being the age of interaction with social media, then Web 3 it should be more immersive and really a lot more accessible and immersive. So you can enter technically the metaverse through your mobile device, through an app, through a web browser. So that's the first myth I want to debunk. And to your point, I think we've been incredibly proud and humbled to be able to partner Multiverse AI as well as our partners Aventis to take education into the forefront of technology, right? I think for me as an educator, one of the things that really pains me is just how incredibly expensive education has become. And just this ability to democratize and make education so much more open and accessible is really exciting for us. So phase 1 will be opening Aventis in Sandbox Cobbleland, and we're going to open its alumni hub. So this allows all its alumni to come in and hobnob and network. And then we'll be working with Multiverse to create a hyper-real campus. It's a photorealistic hyper-real campus, and we're really excited to work with our partners in Multiverse and really sort of push technology to its frontier. So hopefully all of us would be in the Aventis Metaverse.
What do you think when people say the metaverse or the multiverse is going to be a place where scammers will also they'll be there to try and cheat us of our money?
Yeah, Lance, I think that's a very fair comment, right? I think that with every technology and with every sort of new sort of evolution with anything, right? I mean, if you look into any sort of, there's so many scams, right? I mean, there are even scams in some of our most established banks in Singapore, which we shall not name. But I think the point is, wherever there's opportunity, there'll always be scammers. So for us at Smobler, we are really specific and dedicated to finding partners that we trust. In fact, what we categorically started doing is when we decided that we were going to go into this space in a big way, we sought out partners that we trusted, right? First off, we are already brand builders since 1992. So this is really not new to us. We're just sort of extending the trajectory of where we're building, right? From real world into what we call the experience economy to social media economy to now the metaverse, right? That's about fundamentally finding great people to work with. I mean, for me, as a founder of Smobler, I truly believe that technology should serve humans. not the other way around. So I think that finding the right partners who have the right integrity, who want to do the right thing, that really is crucial. Then, of course, I think the second aspect is like constant iteration, and just having constant education and awareness, right? And this is also where the media, right? Like having 938 come on and educate our public. I think that is key. So it really is a series of education, awareness, iteration, and finding good partners to sort of launch this new platform.
Let's go back to talking about Aventis, Dr. Chen. Can you tell us how Smobler Studios will design the various virtual worlds for Aventis? Like you said, it's going to be mostly barrier free. They don't have to put on their headsets. But can we talk about the look? How, for example, they've got different schools within Aventis. How will the different schools look different? Like, will the addiction and counseling course look different from digital marketing course?
I think, one of the fun things about the metaverse is that it can defy the laws of gravity, right? And also defy the laws of physics, right? So case in point, when we launched the world's first concert venue, what we did was our inspiration was to set it in front of the Red Rock, right? Which would be technically impossible if we really wanted to do that in real life. And we also had this like subterranean aquarium. Again, it would be technically impossible if we did this in real life. So I think our design would be some elements of fantasy, but because our core team are all architects, so I think it's about designing ergonomically functioning and appealing buildings, aesthetically pleasing, but also it has to serve the community. So to your point, because Aventis actually has three, I think, huge educational thrusts, right? So he has the digital, the green, and the care. So let's focus on the care because that's what you talked about, the addiction. I think one of the things off the top of my head, I think we can definitely design is to even create like individual consult rooms, group counseling rooms, right? And to make these spaces to be very friendly, very sort of calming and inviting. And so I think these are, and we could even create like gardens or Zen gardens and enhance that in a way that might be impossible in real world and real world economics, right? Yeah, so I think that could be a fun thing that we would venture into. And then I think they also have another course that we're excited about, which is a digital marketing course. So for that one, again, because we're brand storytellers, we're thinking that we can create these really immersive learning experiences. We can gamify it. There can be like daily quests. We could also, partner with established brands. For example, it is no secret that Nike has acquired Artifact, right? So for example, we can collaborate with brands like Artifact or Balenciaga, or Gucci, and have our digital marketing students really like create these like metaverse experiences. So I think really the sky is the limit in a metaverse. So that, for me, as an educator and an artist and an entrepreneur, I think that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, also the meta study found that the metaverse will contribute about $3 trillion to the global economy by the year 2031. Founder Mark Zuckerberg is now spending billions, we know, to construct the Meta's version of the metaverse. Apart from Aventis Graduate School, how else will Smobler Studios help Singapore companies like, say, maybe a popular snacks brand or a drink brand enter the metaverse?
That's so sleek, Lance. I wish I asked these questions and can charge consulting fees already. But to answer your point, I think Smobler Studios, we actually, because we're always brand builders right from the start, right? So when we first ventured into Metaverse, we did not immediately decide to build a game. We didn't immediately say let's build Smurfs or Care Bears or The Walking Dead. What we did was take our real world experience to create almost like digital twins of brick and mortar stores, because that's who we are. And because in the real world, I don't own a mall, I thought it would be so fun if we could build like this virtual mall, which is a theme park expo that we call Cobble Land, that we can really bring like these little small snack maker, right? So if you're a BIPOC, if you're a momtrepreneur, a solopreneur, a youthpreneur, right? Or you're a nonprofit, which also leads us to our conversation on the food bank. We brought them into the metaverse. So you are able to get your feet wet and step into the metaverse. We'll onboard you into the metaverse. We'll design your entire environment. So I think this is something that we're very excited about doing, because I think that the real world, as we know, it can be really expensive because rents can be very extravagant and cost prohibitive. It could also be geographically challenging for folks to travel sometimes. So I think the metaverse really allows us to really democratize the entrepreneurship space as well, and allow for newer players to come into a space, right? I mean, already you've seen real life examples of, like Love Bonito, for example, starting as a Web2 company and then turning into a brick and mortar store. So I think that you're going to see more and more of these sort of from metaverse to mortar stories. So I think that's something we're really excited about, being able to shape the industry and be a change maker.
All right. And you're also helping non-governmental organizations, because in April, Smobler Studios worked with NGO Food Bank Singapore to raise funds. And this was done through auctioning of Smobler design NFTs on non-fungible token artworks and teaching this food bank to accept cryptocurrency donations. Just now, Lance talked about certain kinks, if you like, dangers of working in the virtual worlds, living in the virtual world. So we want to talk about that still. How do you help these companies, especially Food Bank Singapore, now that cryptocurrency is on the decline, but at least for now, we must add?
Yeah, great question, right? I think first off, in any kind of a crypto winter or any kind of winter, right? I think it of course rules out or weeds out the sort of folks that are just here to just like do like pump and dump, right? So the people that really remain are people that really want to build in the space, right? So that's one. So I think that for any kind of little winters that we see, there's always it could be a fire sale for others, right? There's always, in every crisis, there's opportunity, right? So that is a fact. And the other, to your point, is what we really did for the food bank was really to say we wanted to use it as an educational platform to get people to understand that you can now actually utilize your hot wallets or utilize cryptocurrency for good. We also know that lots of younger people, digital natives, who have actually made some money from the crypto boom, and they are willing to give. Right. So what we did was to create this campaign where we actually had our digital ambassador, Young Raja, who himself is a huge Metaverse enthusiast. So we had him as our ambassador. We also created these workshops where we actually had our own NFT consultant really share with the public, like how do you create a hot wallet? How do you mint your own NFTs? And I think, again, to your first point, it really is a constant reminder, iteration, education, awareness, so that people know not to fall for scams. And to be honest, even I have been scammed, right? I think sometimes that's part of learning, right? So I think start small, work with people you trust, and always reach out to ask, right? And that's why we also choose to work with established partners. So for example, now we're talking to NVPC, right? So I think it's about getting started, and then eventually some of the bigger players are already talking to us about creating and bringing Metaverse for good and taking charities into the Metaverse space.
You got scammed.
I did.
You've got to tell us how exactly you got scammed.
I totally got scammed. So I saw like, oh my gosh, there's this like artwork by this like women's artist that I really like. I can't remember her name anymore. And I went in and I bought it. And then it felt really strange because the minute I clicked it, you have this moment, Lance, where you're like, it's like, okay, it feels strange. Like instinctively I did. And then I checked my wallet and I was like, that artwork is not there. And I was like, this is so bizarre. And I called my co-founder and he said, you got scammed.
Oh no.
Yeah. And that's the best way. Yeah. So, seriously, that's just like the best way of learning sometimes. It's like never again, right? So now I ask, I make sure I do my homework, I check. So as with all things, right, there's always like a little learning process. I mean, nothing to fear. I mean, like I said, start small, right? Don't go out and buy a Basie, right, for $250,000 in your first try, right?
Well, Dr. Chen, talking about artists, your brother is a former actor, now businessman and artist, Edmund Chen. He spoke to us last year about his bottle cap mural at Science Centre. So how much would the both of you be open to a collaboration using his artwork and celebrity status with Smobler Studios to create NFTs for charity?
And can I just plug, he's a 61-year-old uncle, right? In the Straits Times, just put 61-year-old uncle and put us all
I saw
to
his
shame.
abs.
Wow.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
really
Wash my clothes.
I lifted my t-shirt.
Kenla.
I lifted my t-shirt and I looked at myself in the mirror and I looked at your not husband,
My
your brother. Sorry, your brother. And I'm going, oh my goodness.
You've got one ab.
Okay, one very big ab. Unimpressive though.
I shall not comment on that, Lance. But to be fair, I think my brother works hard at it. You know, he really believes in a healthy lifestyle. But I think it's a healthy life, healthy mind. I think he's always really believed in going green, going environmental. And in fact, a little known fact, I'm not even sure if we really talked about this, but he's actually currently the world's Guinness Book record holder for the longest painting in the world. So what he did was that, because after the painting was done, it was 611 meters long. So what he realized was that he auctioned off quite a large chunk of it, right, for charity. And then he realized that a lot of the pieces of art were started disintegrating. So this actually gave him an idea to create an NFT. So he started learning at 61 years old. He started learning how to do digital art from my nephew, actor Chen Si. And so he started learning how to recreate, stroke by stroke, brush by brush, that 611 meter artwork. So he created these like digital versions. It's called Cherish the Moment, because it's also, really about him cherishing the moment, spending time with his family and his son, learning from his son, co-creating this artwork. And get this, folks, he managed to sell that NFT, his first NFT, for $60,000. Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very impressive.
He is.
He is, isn't he?
Role model.
Okay, we want your help as well, because we know it's only a matter of time before CNA 938 enters the metaverse. So what ideas would you have us tell our bosses that we need to do now?
Wow, slick like your lens. I mean, like on air enough to give free consultancy. I love it.
And with one
slick.
app.
Unimpressive.
Comment,
Yes.
But I think first off, come to Smobler, right? We'll design for you a kick bleep, right? Hyper-real studio or a really state-of-the-art studio with everything that you've always wanted. Again, we can have a combination of fantasy and defy gravity and defy the laws of physics and create a little bit of your own worlds that you want in this space. We could even potentially, for example, say instead of us just passively partaking in the news, we can create worlds where maybe our avatars can be there in the news as you're reporting, like this is happening and unraveling, and our avatars can all be there together on the scene, right, with you and your one app.
No. Since it's the metaverse, you can change it, right?
You have 12 apps, right? You have 12 apps.
18, come on. Knock yourself out.
In
And
sixes,
they can all be there, right? I think that's really exciting. I think that the point is, I think the sky is really the limit. But, one thing that I will say though is I still think that, fundamentally technology should still serve humans, right? And I think the space should be inclusive, diverse, equitable. I mean, for me, that's really what I aim to do, that if I have the opportunity to co-create the future, which I am now in the front row seat, it's really to make it more diverse, inclusive, and equitable so that more of us can really jump in and join in and be there with you as you're sharing with us breaking news. I think that's really exciting. Can you imagine if students are right there learning from you?
Yeah.
I think that's something really exciting, right? So you kind of see like news unraveling. They kind of understand what you're doing. So we kind of demystify and create these like real world opportunities for folks that may not be privileged and have these opportunities otherwise. So I think that's really exciting to be able to think that way.
It's really a whole new world. Dr. Chen, you have a deep love for theatre. If you could create your own theatre company in the metaverse, what would it look like, and what would your house rules be for avatars who want to stage their plays? Because you want to democratize it. So how open are you going to be?
That's such a great question, right? I think there's so many sides of me. I think human beings, we're still like infinitely multidimensional. And I really hope the metaverse will allow us to be as multidimensional as possible in ways sometimes if most of us can be reality challenged, right? I think for most of us who work in the media, we have the ability to express ourselves fairly well. But I think for some folks, reality can be a hard fact, right? Whether if you're hearing impaired, seeing impaired, mobility impaired, or maybe you're just really awkward with folks, right? I think the metaverse allows individuals like this a space to really express themselves. So that is my hope. So if I ran a theater, I think it's going to be a combination. So the physical space would reflect my sensibilities, right? There'll be one part that is like Gaudi meets Frida Kahlo meets Yayoi Kusama meets David LaChapelle, and then another part that is like, Frank Gehry meets Zaha Hadid or Rem Koolhaas and sleek and minimalist, and then another part that's like wow and tropical, right? That reflects my love for Hawaii and Bhutan, and another part that reflects my love for like Peranakan culture and our Asian heritage. But I think fundamentally, I think the core of my theater company or my theater metaverse space is that I think we have to recognize that I go back to, I think, the metaverse should still serve us humans. I really hope that the one thing that we can, at least, even in a democratic space, right, is to at least have a common consensus to ensure that we do no harm. We do no harm to folks that are more vulnerable than us. We do no harm to children. And we've already seen the consequences of too much social media.
We have indeed.
Right, so I really hope that if I could create the space, which I am now, I want to see bigger players and community really take ownership, take stewardship of the metaverse, not let it descend into the abyss that we've seen in the elections, which we won't go into, right?
All right.
Fundamentally, I believe that the metaverse is a human endeavor.
It is indeed.
And I'll just make a quick plug for you. And I really think that we're all in for the better, the more informed we are with the metaverse, the better. And until then, we should all sit and listen to 938 Live. How's that for a plug?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Thank you very much indeed. Fascinating chat with Dr. Loretta Chen, co-founder of Smobler Studios, a virtual architecture and creative agency.